Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. Let me ask you this, have you ever sat across from a woman, watched her eyes soften, her laughter come easily only to feel her suddenly pull away? Maybe you shared something beautiful, maybe she even whispered how much you mean to her. And yet days later she grows distant, guarded, as if retreating behind an invisible wall. You're left wondering, did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? But here's the paradox. You sense she still wants you. You can feel it in fleeting glances, lingering silences, the way she says your name like she's holding something back. This is not your imagination. In this space of mixed signals, there's a deeper truth unfolding, a tension between desire and fear, closeness and self-protection, intimacy and autonomy. She pushes you away even as she longs to be close, not because she's cruel, not because she's confused, but because there is an emotional story at play that very few men understand. And that is exactly what we're going to unravel today. We're going to step gently, compassionately, into this complicated landscape where her ambivalence speaks volumes, and learn why understanding this dance can change how you experience connection. Vulnerability and love itself. You see, intimacy is not a straight line, it's a dance, and sometimes it feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Have you ever felt that with her? One moment she's texting you late at night, sharing her feelings, her dreams, as if she trusts you deeply. The next, she's distant. She cancels plans. Her replies grow shorter. You begin to second, guess everything. You wonder if she's playing games, if she's losing interest, or worse, if she's met someone else. But what if I told you this isn't about games at all? What if what you're witnessing is the emotional paradox every human, especially every woman, sometimes lives with? The deep desire for closeness and the equally strong pull towards self-preservation. Why is this so important for you as a man to understand? Rejection not moods but as a signal, an invitation into her emotional landscape. You stop reacting and start responding. You become the man who doesn't chase her confusion but understands its language, and this changes everything. So let's lean into this together. At the heart of why she pulls away even when she desires you lies a quiet battle, one that often has little to do with you. For many women, closeness awakens vulnerability, and vulnerability is not neutral terrain. It carries the weight of every past experience, heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, even cultural messages that say, "Don't trust too easily." Imagine for a moment how that feels for her. When you move closer, when you offer your presence and your affection, it awakens the part of her that longs to receive it. But it also awakens the part that fears what could happen if she does. The voice inside that says, "Be careful. Don't let yourself get hurt again." Or remember what happened last time you believed someone's words. This is why your connection with her can feel like a roller coaster. Her mixed signals may not mean she doesn't want you. They may mean she is negotiating internally with herself. How much do I allow? How close can I get before it becomes dangerous for me emotionally? And here is where many men miss an opportunity. They take her withdrawal personally. They push harder, or they retreat in frustration, thinking she doesn't care. But pause for a moment. Imagine if instead you approached her distance not as rejection, but as evidence that your closeness is touching something real. That it's working, but it's also confronting. This requires a shift in your mindset. Instead of needing constant reassurance, you become the reassurance itself. Let's talk about presence. The first point I want you to reflect on is this. Women test with distance because they want to see if your presence is consistent or conditional. She may push away to see, does he disappear when I need space, or does he remain steady? When a woman begins to feel emotionally overwhelmed, your stability is what makes her feel safe. Not your insistence, not your explanations, simply your calm, grounded presence, your ability to respect her space without abandoning her emotionally becomes the anchor she can trust. Because what many women fear is not just closeness, it's the fear that closeness will turn into possession, or that their momentary withdrawal will be punished by your coldness or anger. So when she becomes distant, show her that you can remain open and unshaken. This doesn't mean you chase her down. It means you hold a quiet invitation for her to return without resentment. Next comes your emotional posture. Women are exquisitely attuned to whether your need for connection comes from a place of strength or insecurity. When your desire for closeness carries a desperate undertone, when you are chasing her for reassurance, you unknowingly confirm her fear that closeness is unsafe because it requires her to manage your feelings too. But when your desire for connection feels generous, non-demanding, solid, you give her permission to step closer on her own terms. And this is the second truth I want you to understand. She may push you away simply to feel if she has permission to come back on her own. This is the paradox of feminine intimacy. She needs to feel both held and free at the same time. The more you can embody that paradox in yourself, the more you will notice her mixed signals begin to soften into real trust and openness. Now that we've begun to untangle this delicate dance between distance and closeness, and explored why presence and emotional stability matter so deeply, we are ready to go even deeper. You see, this dance isn't about decoding her texts or trying to anticipate her next move. It's about attuning to the emotional atmosphere that exists between the two of you. And that atmosphere is shaped as much by your responses as by her signals. When a woman feels conflicted when she pushes you away while still wanting you, it often means she is longing to feel safe inside her own emotions first. So this is where we begin to understand the next layer. Trust is not something you can extract from her. It is something she must arrive at herself, but your way of being can make that journey easier. Think about the emotional space you create when you're with her. Is it a space where she feels pressured to explain herself? A space where every moment of distance has to be justified? Or is it a space where she senses your patience, your respect, your ability to remain grounded even when she's in flux? When you embody that steadiness, something profound happens. Her ambivalence begins to relax. The tension between her desire for connection and her instinct for self-protection softens because she no longer has to fight for air or autonomy around you. And this brings us to the next point. Mixed signals often reflect her fear of losing control. You may feel like she's confusing you with her hot and cold behavior, but for her, this push and pull can feel like her only way to maintain some control over her vulnerability. Because when a woman deeply desires you, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like her emotions could sweep her away if she surrenders fully. Have you ever seen that flicker of panic in her eyes after a moment of real closeness? Maybe she shared something deeply personal, and then, the next day, she retreats into silence. It's not that she regrets opening up, it's that opening up makes her feel exposed. This is where your response is crucial. If you react by withdrawing your warmth in return, you reinforce her fear that closeness means eventual hurt. But if you can remain gently present, even when she seems distant, you show her that you are a man who doesn't punish vulnerability, even when it comes with complexity. And let's talk about something subtle but essential. Women often need emotional pacing that feels organic, not rushed. You might be ready to go all in, heart first, now that you feel something meaningful is developing. But she may need moments to breathe emotionally, to process what this closeness means for her, to let her feelings catch up with the intimacy she senses. This is not rejection, it's integration. When a woman pulls away after intimacy, sometimes it's simply because she needs time to feel safe within herself again. And that's why patience is such an underrated masculine virtue in intimacy. Patience doesn't mean waiting indefinitely or ignoring your own needs. It means you can respect that her emotional timing may look different from yours. So, the more you can let go of needing immediate consistency from her, the more you allow her the freedom to return with her whole self rather than fragments forced into premature closeness. And here's something worth reflecting on. Her need for space is not a test you must pass. It's an opportunity to show emotional maturity. When she pulls back, she's not necessarily saying she doesn't want you. She may simply need space to feel that her independence is intact, that she can move toward you without losing herself. The best relationships hold this paradox beautifully, where two people can be deeply connected and still free. And as you lean into this dance, you begin to embody a deeper quality of masculinity, not the one that demands constant closeness or fears distance, but the one that knows closeness becomes ritual when it's chosen freely, not coerced. This is where emotional leadership matters. When you hold a steady emotional frame, you become the anchor that allows her to feel safe enough to return when she's ready. You stop being reactive and start being receptive, not passive, but present in a way that invites her back without guilt or pressure. So, now we've explored why patience, pacing, and emotional steadiness are so essential. What we're really talking about here is your ability to hold complexity. And this is the essence of intimacy, not certainty, not control, but the courage to stay present in the unknown. When a woman gives mixed signals, she's revealing not just her confusion, but her complexity. She is showing you that intimacy for her is not always a straight road. It can feel like an emotional labyrinth where even she doesn't have a map. This is why your willingness to navigate that terrain patiently, without trying to simplify her experience or rush her feelings, becomes so valuable. When you show up as a man who can hold space for both her longing and her fear, both her approach and her withdrawal, you offer her something rare, a place where she can land even when she feels internally scattered. And here's something many men overlook. She is watching how you manage your own emotions when hers become difficult. When she pulls away, when she becomes cool after being warm, do you collapse? Do you become resentful? Do you spiral into insecurity? Or do you remain grounded in your own worth, your own emotional center? That steadiness communicates so much more than any words you could say. It tells her, you don't need to carry my emotions too. I am a man who knows how to hold himself, even when things feel uncertain. This emotional self-regulation is key because mixed signals often arise from a woman's deep sensitivity. Even if she doesn't say it aloud, she is attuned to your emotional state. And if your energy becomes anxious, needy, or tense in response to her distancing, it confirms her worst fear, that emotional closeness will feel like pressure. But when you demonstrate that you can remain open, kind, and at ease, she senses that you're not trying to control her, nor are you thrown off balance by her complexity. And this is deeply attractive. It feels safe in a way that allows her to return not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually too. And we need to remember something essential here. Love is a process of negotiation, not conquest. Many men get caught in the belief that if a woman feels strongly for them, everything should unfold smoothly, without doubt or distance. But emotional intimacy does not work like that, especially for women who have known heartbreak, disappointment, or even trauma in past relationships. Her pulling away might not mean she doesn't care. It might mean she cares so much that she's terrified of what that care could cost her. This is where your empathy becomes your strength. Instead of taking her distance personally, you begin to understand that it is part of her rhythm, her way of testing if the connection is real enough, safe enough, strong enough to hold her as she is in all her contradictions. And when you show up consistently, when you hold a frame of emotional stability while giving her the room to breathe and be herself, you invite a different kind of intimacy. Not the fast, fiery kind that burns hot and fizzles quickly, but the slow, burning, deeply rooted kind that sustains itself over time. This is what so many men miss when they encounter mixed signals. They see confusion when, in fact, it's complexity. They see rejection when, in fact, it's an invitation to slow down, to listen more deeply, to respect her pace while embodying their own center. And you can feel this shift inside yourself too. The moment you stop reacting and start responding, the moment you stop needing immediate validation and instead cultivate patience and presence, you begin to experience a quieter confidence. You become a man who knows that closeness is not about immediate gratification, but about allowing space for real connection to grow gently, organically, at its own pace. And this is where you start to notice her distance lessens, her warmth returns more consistently. Her signals become clearer, not because you fixed her, but because you offered a space where she could relax her defenses and trust you with her tenderness. And that is where true intimacy begins, and as that trust begins to settle between you, something else happens, a mutual ease. You no longer feel like you're chasing clarity, because the clarity begins to emerge on its own. She no longer feels like she has to protect herself from you, because she senses that your intentions are steady, patient, and spacious enough to honor her process. This is the beauty of emotional leadership, not domination or control, but the kind of gentle authority that says, I can hold this space even when you're unsure, I can remain open even when you're ambivalent. You see, every relationship worth having will eventually encounter this space, the space where one person hesitates while the other has a choice to make. Do you panic in that space? Do you rush to fill it with demands, accusations, or insecurities? Or do you lean into it with curiosity, kindness, and a quiet steadiness that says, I am here and you are safe to take your time? When you become that man, something shifts, not just in her, but in you. Your confidence becomes less about getting her to do something and more about knowing that whatever happens, you will remain centered. And this is attractive in the deepest sense. It's attractive not because it's flashy or performative, but because it creates an environment where love can thrive, where her natural rhythm is respected, where she doesn't have to explain every fluctuation of her heart, and where she knows that her moments of distance won't be punished but simply held with quiet understanding. Now think about this carefully. Women push men away sometimes not because they don't desire connection, but because they want to ensure they can desire connection from a place of freedom, not obligation. The more you can embody patience, presence, and emotional maturity, the more she can trust that you are the kind of man who will not suffocate her autonomy even as you draw her close. It's subtle, but it's everything. This is what separates men who understand intimacy from those who only understand pursuit. And if you can internalize this lesson, if you can learn to sit calmly in that ambiguous space between desire and fear, closeness and withdrawal, you will become a man who isn't just attractive in fleeting, surface-level sense. You will become a man who is magnetic, who feels safe to come close to, not because you demand it, but because your presence naturally invites it. So next time she seems distant, next time you sense those mixed signals, remember this. Her ambivalence may not be a rejection of you, but a reflection of her internal emotional negotiation. And when you meet that negotiation with patience, empathy, and calm strength, you offer her a gift, a space where she can choose you freely without pressure, without fear, and without losing herself. That is where real intimacy lives. And if this resonates with you, if this gives you even a glimpse into the profound dance between masculine steadiness and feminine complexity, I want to invite you to take this seriously. Reflect on how you show up in these moments. Cultivate the emotional resilience that allows you to hold that space, to trust the process, and to lead not by chasing, but by becoming the emotional anchor she didn't even know she needed. Because that is what makes you unforgettable, not just your looks or your charm, but your ability to remain grounded, open-hearted, and clear in the very moments when most men become confused.
reactive or afraid.
Thank you for being here with me today, for having this conversation that matters not just for your relationships, but for your growth as a man who understands intimacy on a deeper level. If this spoke to you, if you felt something shift even slightly, I would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Your stories, your questions, your reflections, they matter. They make this space richer, more human, and more real. And if you haven't already, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Intimacy Lab, because together we are going to keep exploring the delicate, beautiful, and sometimes confusing terrain of love, relationships, and emotional connection. Here's to learning how to hold space for love, and to becoming the man who knows that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stay steady while she finds her way back to you.